Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. The Modi cabinet portfolios have been allocated. Major ministries remain unchanged. There's a boost for allies. Regional balance too is maintained. The ministers start taking charge today. Monsoon is moving into the western and northeastern parts of India, and a heat wave is likely to return to the northern states. This is what the IMD has issued an alert. BRICS Foreign Ministers issue a joint statement. They express serious concern at the continued conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa, and they call for comprehensive reform of the United Nations Security Council. The UN Security Council endorses US-sponsored Gaza ceasefire resolution. Hamas welcomes the plan, says it's ready to cooperate. And tensions escalate as North Korea and South Korea exchange trash and leaflet balloons. Now South Korea fires warning shots after border incursion. Cabinet ministers in the third government of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi have begun assuming their offices on Tuesday, a day after they were allocated their portfolios. The new Council of Ministers comprises 72 ministers, and in a sign of continuity, the top 4 posts remained unchanged, with Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, Nirmala Sitharaman and S. Jaishankar retaining the Home, Defence, Finance and External Affairs portfolios respectively. And the BJP President JP Nadda has got the health portfolio. The cabinet's new entrants include the senior BJP leader Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who has been assigned the Ministry of Agriculture. Ministers from the National Democratic Alliance partners include Ram Mohan Naidu, who has got the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and Chirag Paswan, who has been allocated the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. And DD India's Akhilesh Suman is now joining us with more on this story. He joins us from the newsroom. Akhilesh, what do you make of the portfolio allocation of the ministers?
Mark, it is really interesting and exciting that one government is taking the charge again in the third term, and this is both continuity and also a bit of change, because continuity is because the whole CCS you see is the same. So that shows the continuity in government policies and government approach towards major issues of domestic and international affairs. But there is a change in configuration of the cabinet. TDP is the new inductee. JDU, though JDU was part of the government once upon a time in India earlier, but JDU came out of it. But there is a Shiv Sena Eknath Shinde. So I think this is the change, that some new parties have been inducted, like Jitan Ram Manjhi has come, and he was the former Chief Minister of Bihar. So in that way you can say that government has got some new energy and fresh ideas might come, because that there is a new situation in the country when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is telling that we have to be a developed nation by 2047, and in that connection any government needs a new type of ideas to come, and I think this is the government which is accepting both continuity and the change. And if you see that some old Manohar Lal Khattar, who was the Chief Minister of Haryana, he has been given a major charge like urban development and housing. So I think he also has a lot of experience, Haryana being the adjacent to Delhi, and he has understanding of housing and urban development. So I think some fresh energy will come through that also. And Ashwini Vaishnaw, if you see that Vaishnaw has been given much more responsibility. Now he is a Minister of IT, he is also Minister of Information Broadcasting and also the Railways. So I think he will have a more responsibility. And if you see that MSME department has been given to Jitan Ram Manjhi. In that way, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ensured that, the MSME sector should go to the more areas, and he comes from Bihar that needs really, fresh impetus in micro and, small, medium enterprises. So I think that Prime Minister has made very curated cabinet and council of ministers, and I think that in the coming days we will see the results pouring in as a result.
Akhilesh, you've talked about continuity and change. Also, from the point of regional balance, after all, India has 29 states, union territories. How well, represented is the entire country in this Council of Ministers?
Yes, you can see that there is one minister from Kerala, there are ministers from Maharashtra, there are ministers from Bihar, there are ministers from UP, West Bengal. So, you name any state and you will find the ministers. So, as far as the portfolios are concerned, portfolios keep sometimes keep revamping. But as far as the regional balance is concerned, I think there is a proper regional balance, and at times you need also the experience and also the way the minister may conduct. So all these things are there. If you see 2014 and 2019, there was departure from 2014 portfolios, and 2019 was almost a different type of cabinet, different cabinet. Like Sushma Swaraj was not in the as external affairs minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar came as external affairs minister, but this time he also is from Kerala. So I think Kerala, from two ministers are there from Kerala. Even when Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been telling that we will be giving more importance to all the states, I think Kerala was one state where there was not so much of approach earlier, but this time I think it is very well represented. Same way, that West Bengal also has been represented. So in that way, I think all types of concerns have been taken care of while forming the new cabinet and council of ministers.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Akhilesh Suman, joining us from the newsroom. Now, S. Jaishankar has taken charge as the External Affairs Minister of India for a second time, and he's a former diplomat. S. Jaishankar is a Rajya Sabha member. This is his second term as the External Affairs Minister, which is the Foreign Minister equivalent. And
it's for me an immense honor, a very great privilege to be once again given the responsibility of leading the Ministry of External Affairs. In the last term, this ministry actually performed exceptionally well. It rose to many challenges. We delivered where the G20 presidency was concerned. We took on the challenges of COVID, including Vande Bharat mission and vaccine Maitri supplies. So quite apart from the normal diplomacy, I think I've really deemed it a matter of great satisfaction that in the last decade, this ministry under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become a very people-centric ministry. You can see that in terms of our improved passport services, in terms of the community welfare fund support that we give to Indians abroad, in terms of how we respond to different needs of Indians when they leave our shores or preparing to leave our shores.
And DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja gets us more on this story.
First Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, took charge this morning, highlighting that India will continue to prioritize its neighbourhood first policy, as seen during India's G20 presidency and earlier during the COVID time, where India provided vaccines to a lot of nations around the world. India will continue to be the Vishwaguru and also enhance security cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. Relationship with Pakistan and China will continue to be skillfully navigated for now. Jessica Taneja with Moit Joshi in New Delhi for DD India.
And Ashwini Vaishnav, who has retained the Railways and the Information Technology Ministries, also assumed office once again. And apart from these two ministries, he has also been allotted the Information and Broadcasting portfolio. The Telugu Desam Party Supremo, Chandrababu Naidu, is set to take oath as the Chief Minister of the South Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. Last week, Naidu's TDP surged back to power after unseating the YRS Congress Party in the assembly polls, which were held simultaneously with the general elections in the state. And our correspondent Ravi Shankar, whom we spoke to earlier, is joining us once again from Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. Ravi Shankar, so just put into context for us, the importance of the occasion, a change in government for the people of Andhra Pradesh. One government which had won a huge majority last time, voted out, and another coming in with another huge majority. So it looks like the people of Andhra Pradesh are, wanting to move ahead at a fast pace. Given the natures of the mandates.
Yes, huge. That means that's really huge. 164 out of 175. That's a huge number, very big number. And that will just clear the attitude, ambitious people of Andhra Pradesh. And today, the TDP Legislative Party meeting is going to happen in Vijayawada itself. And before that, in the morning, BJP and Janasena, those parties also conducted their legislative party meetings in their respected offices. And among them, Janasena party obviously chose Pawan Kalyan as their leader, and BJP, it's under progress still. And post that, the meeting will, of the TDP legislative meeting will happen. And on that, NDA leader, as NDA leader, Chandrababu Naidu will be elected. Post that, they all will move to Governor's house, Mr. Nazir Ahmad's house. There, they will just submit their conclusion as CBN to the governor. And then the governor may invite CBN for the forming the government. And tomorrow, if you see, at Garnavaram, this swearing-in ceremony is going to happen, for which PM Modi also going to attend. If you see the schedule, by 10:40 like that, Modi will arrive Garnavaram. And post that, at about up to 12:30, he will be there in the swearing-in ceremony.
Right. You did mention Pawan Kalyan being chosen by his party as well. Does that imply that he is going to be the Deputy Chief Minister?
Yes, sir. There are chances, because Deputy CM, and there is a chance of Home Minister also for him. And as a second place, either Nadandla Manohar or Arani Srinivas may get another portfolio from Janasena party, because they are in number 2 position, and if the caste equation works, Arani Srinivas may come to the front. Otherwise, Nadandla Manohar will be allotted with a portfolio. And as far as BJP is concerned, other than Purandeswari, Vishnu Kumar, he will be the leader for the floor in the assembly as far as now.
Now, this is an aside question because N.T. Ramarao, of course, came from the film world and popular leader as well. And Pawan Kalyan, again, is also a film star. Is Andhra Pradesh, going back, in a sense, to electing people from celluloid into politics?
Actually, we can't compare any other person with NTR, because the majority that he got solely worked on that, and he is the real leader till date to the AP public. And after him, we should now here mention Chiranjeevi, who is the brother of Pawan Kalyan with the Prasar Bharati party also. In Tirupati, for his first meeting, at about 10 lakhs public attended. But even then, he could not form any government. And after him, Pawan Kalyan come forward, and in 2019 elections, he could not get even a single seat, and he himself got defeated. But in 2024, he comes to the limelight, and as you know that 21 seats, that's a big number, and we should mention 100% strike rate. As the Janasena party, it got 3 Lok Sabha seats and 21. Wherever they got contested, they won. So we should mention Pawan Kalyan above Chiranjeevi and less than NTR.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ravi Shankar. Thank you for being with us. Now, the Bharatiya Janata Party Legislature Party of Odisha is also meeting, and they're going to elect their chief ministerial candidate for the state. The BJP on June 4 had secured a majority by winning 78 seats in the 147-member Odisha Assembly. However, the party is yet to choose its leader, and the leader who's chosen is going to be at the helm of the state. But the BJP has appointed Union Ministers Rajnath Singh and Bhupendra Yadav to oversee the selection of the new Chief Minister of Odisha. And Saubhagya Kar is following the story very closely. He joins us now with more from New Delhi. Saubhagya, so who are the front runners for the Chief Minister's post?
Yeah, Mark, all eyes on that. Everywhere there is a wild guess who will become the first BJP Chief Minister of Odisha. Rajnath Singh and Bhupendra Yadav, both of them will be reaching Bhubaneswar shortly. The party president Monsoon, Samal and others took stock of the situation where the swearing-in take place tomorrow. Mark, BJP after getting a thumping majority for the first time in the state. Earlier they were in the Navin Patnaik government, they are coalition partners, but this is the first time BJP is going to form the government in Odisha. So all eyes on who will become the first Chief Minister. And Mark, one very good thing, today morning the government announced. Hello, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. After COVID-19, March 2020, the journalist entry to Lok Sabha Bhavan, that is called State Secretariat, that was banned for journalists. But today morning, the government administration took a decision that they will allow journalists henceforth today onwards to enter into the Lok Sabha Bhavan. This is a good development before the swearing in of the new Chief Minister. Good news for journalists at least.
Right. Indeed. So, but coming back to the question of, the possibilities of choosing, are they likely to choose from amongst the MLAs who are selected or from outside?
Mark, there are many names doing the rounds. BJP is always, prone to offer surprises. Like it happened in Rajasthan, it happened in Madhya Pradesh, it happened in Chhattisgarh. Where those who became chief ministers, they were not in the political analysis. They could not guess that they will become chief ministers. So, like BJP in Odisha also, you may get a surprise name, but the front runners are Suresh Pujari, one MLA, and then the party state president, who is Monsoon Samal, but he lost the election by a narrow margin. Like you can say Pushkar Singh Dhami also lost the election, but he became Chief Minister in Uttarakhand. Like also Keshav Maurya, he lost the election, but he became Deputy Chief Minister in Uttar Pradesh. So like that, only time will tell, Mark. Just wait for the evening.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Saubhagya Kar. Thank you for joining us from the newsroom. Now, you're watching DD India News Hour, and still to come. In fact, we're going to take a short break, and after that we'll return. Stay with us.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
गर फिरदौस बर्रुए ज़मी अस्त हमी अस्तो हमी अस्तो हमी अस्त Jammu and Kashmir, nature's finest works. A land of verdant valleys, pristine lakes, striking autumns, unforgettable majestic beauty. A place of unwavering devotion, wholehearted smiles, and warm hospitality. World famous for its exquisite artistry. Leader in diverse agricultural products. Heartland of winter sports. Jammu and Kashmir is vibrant, diverse, ambitious, future-focused, full of life. Welcome to Heaven on Earth.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Now, the monsoon is moving into Maharashtra, Telangana and Odisha, and the India Meteorological Department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall over Maharashtra and coastal and north interior Karnataka in the coming week. The Met Department has issued a yellow alert for Mumbai, indicating that conditions are conducive for the monsoon to arrive in the city. On the other hand, heat wave conditions are prevailing over northwest India starting from today. The heat wave conditions are likely to persist over the east and central east India as well, Uttar Pradesh and northeast Madhya Pradesh throughout the week. Delhi is bracing for dust storms and thunderstorms, and temperatures are likely to be around 42 degrees Celsius. The city is expecting some rain as humidity levels too are reasonably high. And Yogesh Sheetal is joining us from Mumbai with more on the arrival of the monsoon. Well, Yogesh, Mumbai gets transformed during the monsoon times and some places get flooded. But, it's been an annual feature. So to what extent, is the city prepared for excessive heavy rains?
The drainage, particularly in the low-lying area like Kalanagar in Bandra, Andheri, also Grant Road, Matunga. These are the low-lying areas where many times, the water logging has been a major concern, and that's the reason chopping the tree branches, extra branches, that causes concern for the public movement, traffic movement, basically the buses, best buses. Also, the water supply, water flowing, sometimes water logging we had received. Recently, we had seen in Hind Mata, Dadar, how water logging had created a lot of problems and inconvenience to the people, basically for the office goers. So, such steps are already taken and already being taken. At the same time, railway stations, basically like Bandra, Kudla, Chuna Bhatti, these are the low-lying area railway stations where water pumps have been stationed to ensure that in case of water logging, the water could be receded, water could be taken out. So at the same time, apart from that, also MMRDA has deployed a certain good amount of engineers at working sites where infrastructure works are going on, because we know the metro works are already going on in some pockets of Maharashtra. Yesterday we had seen that how coastal road one side was inaugurated. So a lot of infrastructure projects is also going on in Maharashtra, and that is the reason why the engineers and the teams, the surveillance teams have also been deployed. At the same time, we can also see the Mumbai Metro. Apart from Mumbai Local, Mumbai Metro, which is also considered one of the lifelines in Mumbai, the team has already been stationed. The 24/7 call center has been activated. Also, the social media handles of all the agencies, including PMC, MMRDA, NDRF, you can say also. All agencies are just keeping a close tab on the situations. Yes, the IMD has predicted yellow alert for Mumbai, Thane, Navi Mumbai, Raigad, and orange alert for Sindhudurg and Ratnagiri. These are the two districts in Konkan region. Coming to Mumbai particularly, the city is completely functioning. As of now, you can see the weather is a bit good. But since for the next 48 hours, the warning has been issued, the yellow alert has been issued, and the agencies are working accordingly.
Right, thanks a lot, Yogesh. Let's go across to Siddharth Bhardwaj, who's joining us from New Delhi with more on the heat over here. Siddharth, it's beginning to rain in other parts of the country. And how long do we have to wait here in Delhi for the rains?
Well, Mark, as you can see, I'm standing in scorching heat and I'm sweating. So there is no good news as far as the rains are concerned. And as far as heat wave is concerned, there is some bad news. Yesterday, IMD predicted for next 4 to 5 days, the IMD has said that, people have to bear the brunt of the soaring temperatures. And after that, they'll get some respite. But for the next 4 to 5 days, It's very difficult to say. In fact, the worst is yet to come. This is the statement by the IMD. So there have been some, precautionary measures that have been suggested by the IMD. They have said that people have to adopt some precautionary measures to mitigate the challenges related to the heat wave, including staying hydrated as much as they can. And also, whenever, if at all, they are stepping out, they need to wear light colored clothes, not dark colored clothes, because light colored clothes, dark colored clothes absorb heat. So that's the reason. And also, even if they are staying inside, they have to keep the temperatures around them cool by using the air conditioners or coolers or whatever means they can. But Mark, there is a problem with the office goers or some people who have to go out of their houses. They don't have any other option. So it is advised by the IMD that they be inside the office premises as much as they can and then stay hydrated there as well. So one thing which has been emphasized by the IMD is to stay hydrated as much as they can, eat less and drink more water so that they could be they don't face the heat wave, and also the risk related to it, Mark. Also, there have been cases of heat stroke in the hospitals in the past that we have seen. So to prevent that advisory, the precautionary measures have been suggested by the IMD. But for next 4 to 5 days, there is no respite, and people have to take preventive measures to save themselves from a life-threatening situation like heat stroke.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Siddharth Bharadwaj, for joining us from New Delhi, and Yogesh Seetal from Mumbai. Thanks, both of you. Now, the flood situation in Assam has improved since the past few days. The number of flood-affected villages has come down to 62 in 6 districts as the situation continues to improve. The NDRF and the SDRF teams are carrying out rescue operations and providing relief items to the people who have been affected by the floods. India's maiden solar mission, Aditya L1, has captured images of the sun using its remote sensing payloads on board during the solar storm that occurred last month, capturing dynamic images of the activities inside the Earth's nearest star. These images will assist astrophysicists in studying solar flares, their energy distribution and sunspots. It will also help in understanding and predicting space weather while monitoring solar activity and UV radiation. Let's get you some news that's coming in as well, other stories. Amid the ongoing protests by student groups against alleged discrepancies in the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, or NEET, the Director General of the Indian National Testing Agency, the NTA, has assured the aspirants across the country that their rankings won't get affected because of the ongoing revisiting of the results. Subodh Kumar Singh said that a committee constituted to look into the matter will submit its report in a week. India's Central Board of Secondary Education issued an advisory on Monday urging students and parents to beware of misinformation about the syllabus, study materials as well as sample question papers for the 2024-25 academic session. The board said that the information from unauthorized sources can be misleading among stakeholders. A National Investigation Agency team reached Jammu and Kashmir's Riyasi district following the terror attack on a passenger bus. The team is coordinating with the local police to probe the incident, which left 9 people dead and several injured. Devotees thronged the Hanuman Gadi temple in Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. They welcomed the Jeshti month. Jeshti is in fact the 3rd month of the year in the Hindu calendar. Still to come here on DD India News Hour, the Baltimore Port Quay has reopened, the Quay Channel. This is after that bridge collapse in March. French politicians have been scrambling to organize their campaigns ahead of this snap general elections at the end of the month. UK's governing Conservative Party is expected to reveal its election manifesto.
Welcome to Lakshadweep, the land of 100,000 islands, the aquatic wonderland of India, an archipelago of spectacular marine gems, colorful coral and crystal clear lagoons, a kaleidoscope of turquoise blue. Each island of Lakshadweep draws in explorers with its unique beauty. Witness idyllic sunsets and pristine beaches of Kavarati.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. The Modi government's cabinet portfolios have been allocated. Major ministries remain unchanged. There's been a boost to the allies and regional balance, and the ministers are taking charge today. The BRICS Foreign Ministers issue a joint statement expressing serious concern at the continued conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa. They've called for comprehensive reform of the United Nations Security Council as well. The UN Security Council has endorsed US-sponsored Gaza ceasefire resolution. Hamas has welcomed the plan, says it's ready to cooperate. Tensions escalate as North Korea and South Korea exchange trash and leaflet balloons. South Korea fires warning shots after border incursion. Well, South Korean activists have quietly released smart balloons for flights deep into the northern part of the peninsula or North Korea. Now, specialized balloons are equipped with leaflet dispensers, bundles of speakers, as well as GPS trackers. Their aim is to reach far into the Northern Territory as much as possible, disseminating thousands of leaflets and airing pre-recorded messages critical of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The Seoul-based activist group says that these so-called smart balloons, which can cost up to $1,000 each, are filled with helium or hydrogen and are capable of carrying payloads of up to 7.5 kgs. The balloon tactics, they've seized the spotlight amongst this frosty relationship between the two Koreas since last month, when the North Koreans started sending hundreds of balloons carrying trash into the south. Indeed, and the tension has further escalated because the South Korean military has fired warning shots now at the weekend. This is after some North Korean soldiers briefly crossed the border amid a recent rise in the tension over Pyongyang's launcher balloons carrying trash into the south. The incident came as the North had sent thousands of balloons, as we said, containing trash in the recent days to the south, including hundreds over the weekend, calling it a response to a campaign by the North Korean defectors in the south who have flown balloons carrying anti-Pyongyang leaflets in the other direction over the border. And we're joined by Chris Gilbert, who's joining us from Tokyo with more on the story. Well, Chris, this seems, rather bizarre, sending balloons of trash and into each other's countries and leaflets and propaganda. But there is a method to the madness, isn't it? Could you explain it to us?
Well, the method is that this has been a standard practice by defectors from North Korea now residing in South Korea for a long time. They often send, not necessarily, as you said, Mark, smart balloons, but they do, by various methods, send leaflets, anti-North Korean leaflets, into North Korea from South Korea. And, in fact, when Pyongyang responded, it did make sure to say that this is a response to South Korea sending balloons and to these defectors sending balloons for an extended period of time. And at the time that North Korea began sending these 1,000 balloons into South Korea, it did say that it wanted South Korea to experience how cumbersome and tedious it is to clean up the mess. And it also set a deadline of about the 9th, which was 2 days ago, for when it wanted to stop the sailings and when it intended to. However, South Korea again responded by, resuming these loudspeaker broadcasts of anti-North Korean propaganda into the DMZ, which it hasn't done since the last time North Korea tested a nuclear weapon. About 8 years ago. So sending balloons and testing nuclear weapons are vastly different universes in terms of provocations, but it is somewhat mutually indicative of the simmering hostilities that are brewing near the DMZ.
So simmering hostilities, are there, any chances at all that the Koreas would start talking once again? I think Moon Jae-in tried that. A few other South Korean leaders have attempted. What's the long-term plan like?
It's a great question, and you're quite right to say that Moon Jae-in, the predecessor to the current leader Yoon Suk-yeol, did try that, and Moon Jae-in was very, very disliked in Washington for that approach. He was far less likely than Yoon Suk-yeol to want to fight fire with fire. He was far more likely to engage in dialogue. Yoon Suk-yeol, the current leader, didn't rule out a preemptive strike on North Korea while he was campaigning for president about 2 years ago. So the chances for dialogue under the current South Korean leadership are very thin indeed, and it is some years before that leadership, the administration, is going to change. The wild card in all of this, of course, is the US elections and the prospect of another Trump presidency. The last president to shake the hand of a North Korean leader was Donald Trump in 2019, where it did seem that things were improving before the US again walked away from those talks. So that is the wild card in all this, which could throw things up in the air, but at the moment it does seem to be a stasis between all parties involved.
Chris Gilbert in Tokyo, thank you very much. South Korea and the United States have completed a review of the joint guidelines for nuclear deterrence on Monday. In a joint statement, the officials said that South Korea and the United States were working to adopt joint guidelines aimed at better coordinating an allied nuclear response during the potential war with North Korea. Senior defense officials from both countries held the third nuclear consultative group talks in Seoul. Both sides reviewed draft guidelines which lay out the principles and procedures for maintaining and enhancing a credible and effective nuclear deterrence policy and posture. The talks came as North Korea races ahead to advance its nuclear weapons and their delivery systems. Chaos erupted in the Israeli parliament as legislators moved ahead with a controversial bill on conscripting ultra-Orthodox Jewish students into the military. This bill, which must still pass committee hearings, it could see a gradual entry into the military of the ultra-Orthodox Jews who have traditionally resisted serving in the armed forces. The move comes a day after the centrist minister Benny Gantz quit the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government. The United Nations Security Council has adopted a resolution endorsing a US-backed ceasefire proposal that aims to end the Israel-Gaza conflict. The proposal sets out conditions for a full and complete ceasefire, the release of hostages held by Hamas, and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners. 14 of the 15 council members voted in favor of the US drafted resolution. Russia abstained. Hamas has welcomed the UN Security Council resolution backing a proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. They've said that they're ready to cooperate with the mediators over implementing these principles. But Hamas has also said that they are willing to engage in indirect negotiations over implementing the principles that are consistent with the demands of the people of their resistance. The BRICS countries, and India participated in this BRICS Foreign Ministers meeting in Russia on Monday. The senior diplomat from India, Dhammu Ravi, represented India. He led the Indian delegation. The foreign minister had not yet taken office in his second term. But in a joint statement, leaders exchanged views on major global and regional issues. They reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening the framework of BRICS strategic partnership under the three pillars of cooperation, politics and security, economy and finance, culture and people-to-people exchanges. The ministers called on the international community to seek the collective answers to global as well as regional challenges and security threats, including terrorism. And the BRICS members also recalled their national positions concerning the situation in and around Ukraine. They've expressed serious concern also at continued conflicts in the Middle East and North Africa, and they have called for effective implementation of the relevant UNGA, UN General Assembly resolutions, as well as the UN Security Council Resolution 2720, and for also the immediate, safe and unhindered delivery of humanitarian assistance at scale directly to the Palestinian civilian population through the Gaza Strip. They have reaffirmed their support for Palestine's full membership of the United Nations and a commitment to the two-state solution based on international law. They've called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire as well as peaceful resolution of the conflict in Sudan. And they've also called for an urgent settlement or peaceful settlement in Afghanistan to strengthen regional security and stability. And Jessica Taneja joins us more on this story about BRICS. Well, Jessica, the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, had not yet taken office, so India was represented by Dhammu Ravi, who was Secretary Economic Relations. But, put into context the statement that has come out and how it impacts India.
Well, a lot more focuses on de-dollarization and also enhancing the use of local currencies. You read out the statement pretty much that sums up what was on the agenda and what kind of discussions and deliberations that took place there in that moment. Well, for India, the part where it's about challenging or demanding an overhaul of the financial structures, the international financial structures, is one of the key demands, and India does sort of have that aligned with the rest of the BRICS countries. Also, talking about de-dollarization, etc. This has been something that the New Development Bank has also been, sort of looking into and asking the countries to participate. You'd recall, Mark, just at the beginning of this year, 4 new countries joined the BRICS grouping, namely Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. That included the big oil behemoths becoming part of it. So that certainly gave it the kind of heft that BRICS wanted. And for India, it continues to enjoy a relationship, a fruitful relationship with most of the BRICS nations. And that further enhancement of bilateral ties individually would also continue. But the bigger takeaway from this is the continued focus on how to enhance the local currencies and what kind of mechanisms would be required, and how countries, especially the underdeveloped countries, can be pushed towards more infrastructure, and how more financing, especially climate financing, can be prioritized.
Been trying to move away from the US dollar and been looking to trade in their own currencies, as well as develop a contingency fund which can stabilize their currencies against the dollar over time. But you also mentioned, Jessica, about the other countries that have joined. Is there a plan, to change the name of BRICS? After all, it did have it's an acronym for the countries that were first founders of the organization, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Jessica, can you hear me? No, it seems that Jessica has lost contact with me. But we'll get that answer. Let's move on then. French politicians from the left and the right are scrambling to organize their campaigns for a snap general elections, which is going to take place within 3 weeks. Now, the French President Emmanuel Macron called these elections after a disastrous performance of his party in the European Union parliamentary elections on June 9. DD India's Ross Cullen, reports from Paris.
The French president has taken a huge gamble in calling this snap general election, taking place in just 19 days' time now on the 30th of June. He is hoping that his party, Renaissance, can claw back some of the seats that it lost in the last general election just 2 years ago in 2022. But all eyes will be on the performance of the far-right party, the National Rally. The polls were correct in terms of their performance on Sunday the 9th of June in the European Union's parliamentary elections. The polls said they would get around 30%, and they did that, getting 31% and landing the greatest number of seats to be sent by France to the European Union Parliament in Brussels. The surveys that will be coming out in the coming days, polling the French electorate for who they are going to vote for and why, will be paying close attention to those, because they will be able to say if the National Rally has cut through at a domestic level in the way that it cut through in the European Union election campaign. Emmanuel Macron has a lot on his plate internationally. He is trying to drive the accession talks for Ukraine to join the European Union as quickly as possible. He has just announced in the last few days that fighter jets will be sent by France to Ukraine, and he is always discussing with colleagues across the region and also in the Middle East about the need for a ceasefire and the release of all the hostages in the Israel-Gaza conflict. So he has this presence on the international stage, but back here at home, he is in a weak parliamentary position. Before he even called this election, he is hoping that his situation does not become almost untenable if the National Right win the election. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
The UK's governing Conservative Party is expected to reveal its election manifesto later on Tuesday. The Prime Minister Rishi Sunak hopes it will begin to turn the tide ahead of the July 4th election, with polling continuing to suggest that his Conservatives could face a crushing defeat to Labour. Ollie Barrett, DD India's correspondent in London, sends us more.
It's been a very difficult week or so for the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak after a controversy about him leaving D-Day commemorations in France early and having to apologise for that. So he will hope that the release of the Conservative Party's manifesto can begin to regain some momentum in the election campaign ahead of the vote on July the 4th. Expect commitments in the manifesto on issues ranging from the economy to healthcare, to immigration. The government's Rwanda plan will be in there, you would expect, as one of the pledges that the party will be making to the electorate. Now, the Labour Party doesn't release its manifesto until later in the week. Labour say that the Conservatives' manifesto is going to have all sorts of unfunded promises in it. The Labour Party are describing the Conservatives' manifesto and its launch as the biggest panic attack in history. The Labour Party's inference there is that the Conservatives are desperate and rolling out a series of promises that they can't necessarily afford. Labour insists that it's time for change and for a new government in Downing Street. Certainly all of the polling up to this point has suggested that, if anything, the gap between the Labour Party in the lead and the Conservative Party may actually be widening during the election campaign rather than getting tighter, which is what Rishi Sunak had been hoping for. But the Prime Minister, as I say, will be hoping that the manifesto launch can become a moment in the election campaign when he can begin to turn the tide. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Brazil continues to battle its worst wetland fires since 2020. Experts are concerned as the wildfire season has started much earlier this year. DD India's Nick Harper reports.
Well, it's the sheer scale and size of these fires in Brazil that has experts worried. The fire season would normally get underway in July and then increase during the course of August and September. We've already, though, seen it rage during the course of this early part of June, in particular in the Pantanal wetlands region of Brazil. Experts are saying that fires have increased nearly tenfold so far this year, now reaching their highest level since 2020. Satellite data on top of that also showing a 980% increase in the number of fires compared to this time last year. It is a huge area of wetlands, about 10 times larger than the Everglades here in the United States in the state of Florida, and of course is home to vast amounts of biodiversity and animal species. Scientists say that they've seen lower rainfall levels over the course of the last year, and that has of course left the region much more vulnerable to fires. We've already seen the Brazilian government working with state governors. They have declared an environmental emergency and now doing all they can to try and get these raging wildfires under control. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
U.S. federal agencies said on Monday that they have restored full access for commercial maritime transit through the port of Baltimore after the removal of 50,000 tons of debris from the March 26 collapse of the Key Bridge. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said a survey on Monday clarified that the riverbed was safe for transit. The fully operational channel will allow two-way traffic. The cargo ship Dali had crashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in March in Baltimore, killing 6 people and paralyzing a major transportation artery of the U.S.'s northeast. And let's get you some other stories coming in from around the world. Singapore Airlines on Tuesday has offered to compensate passengers who were on board that flight last month that had encountered severe turbulence. In fact, that incident had left 1 person dead and several people injured. Peru's Justice Department on Monday extended pre-trial detention of the jailed former President Pedro Castillo by 14 months. Castillo is charged with rebellion, abuse of authority and disrupting peace. The star cast of HBO's House of the Dragon, including Matt Smith and Olivia Cook, graced the red carpet on Monday at the UK premiere of the season 2. Now, the second season of the Game of Thrones prequel picks up just days after the first season, centering on the conflict between Team Green and Team Black. Let's get you the business news now. The Indian benchmark indices, the Sensex and the Nifty, opened weak because of mixed global cues. The Sensex was trading down at 84.32 points at about 76,405, and the Nifty had dropped 9 points or 10 points to about 23,250. IT stocks and influential HDFC Bank saw some selling pressure, causing the markets to close lower after 3 consecutive days of increases. The tech major Apple has unveiled its AI strategy as it's done so at its annual conference, and in a 2-hour conference, the executives, who included the CEO Tim Cook, they presented the Apple Intelligence. Now, this company plans to integrate AI technology across a suite of apps, including Siri, as well as, they're trying to bring in OpenAI's ChatGPT into their devices. The move aims to reinvigorate iPhone sales as customers look to upgrade and gain an edge over the rival, Microsoft. This is NewsHour. Let's get you the sports news now. And Jannik Sinner has created history. On Monday, he became the world #1 in tennis, according to the ATP rankings. Now, the 22-year-old was presented with the ATP World Tour trophy by the chairman Andrea Gaudenzi. Djokovic's withdrawal from the French Open in the quarterfinals led to Sinner getting the #1 spot. The Italian climbed to the summit. Meanwhile, the French Open champion Carlos Alcaraz also reached the second spot in the world, and Djokovic has dropped to the third spot. So Yannick Sinner began 2024 ranked fourth, but this has been a good year for him. He's won the Australian Open, and along with that, he's won the Masters 1000 title in Miami, and he's become the 29th player to rise to the #1 spot in the history of the ATP rankings since they first began in 1973. South Africa held their nerves to beat Bangladesh by a mere 4 runs. In yet another low-scoring thriller at the T20 World Cup on Monday, South Africa's spinner Keshav Maharaj produced a stellar performance, defending 11 runs in the final over. Bangladesh have never beaten South Africa in a T20 international and would not have come closer than this. Chasing a modest 114 runs, they were 94 for 4 at the end of 17 overs. They needed just 20 runs of 18 balls, but they couldn't get there because of good bowling in the death. People from all walks of life played colorful pianos at New York's Monsoon Plaza on Monday at the launch of the Sing for Hope pianos. Now, this is a group that was founded in response to 9/11. It's a non-profit and it aims to help heal through art. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.